Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Namovsky. On today's episode, we're discussing financial therapy, healing your relationship to money. Now, before we went to break, I talked about how do you know if you have financial trauma? So how do you know?
So first, let's define what financial trauma is. Essentially, it's a series of adverse experiences that you've encountered that disrupts your sense of normalcy or safety or security, especially when it comes to your relationship with money. And there are certainly two types of traumas to be aware of. The word trauma automatically leads people to believe it's like big events that normally we associate with trauma, like growing up in poverty, encountering abuse of any sort. And while these are obviously big T's, there are also small T's that are traumas that are really personal to you, that happen to you, that may have not necessarily have had the same impact on someone else. So it's a much more personal relationship, and that is a wide variety of scenarios that could contribute to that. And one might argue that we've all experienced it and explored it on different levels, on different complexities and different depths. So it's important to recognize that as long as you know that your relationship with money is disrupted in whichever capacity, chances are there's unresolved or unprocessed financial trauma that you've encountered along the way. One example could be, for example, I had a client whose parents were workaholics, and while he had all the games and the toys and the luxuries and the vacations growing up and going to private school, he associated money to be more important than him because it took away his parents and they couldn't spend time with him. And that created a form of financial trauma for him, even though money was abundant. And I bring that example up again because we automatically associate financial trauma with the lack of money, when in reality, it could really mean anything that disrupts our sense of safety, security, connection, just like this example did for this client.
You know, it's interesting that you say that because a lot of people that struggle will say, oh, if I only made more money, I'd be fine. If I only had more money. But if you are struggling with debt and you only have more money, you are going to spend it away anyway. Having more money is never the solution. So what I want to ask you right now are, what are common money blocks that people struggle with?
There's definitely the correlation between money being evil, and there's different variations of how we say that, but like there are specifically explicit terminologies like money is the root of evil, money changes you, more money, more problems. So there's like different ways of iterating the same message, and that's a very common one that people struggle with. The other one is around the safety. When you have money, you feel like people are out there to get you, or now you become a target, or success is for some reason not comfortable. There's other ones around gender roles and money, like depending on your culture, your upbringing, your belief systems. There's also a lot around that. You know, Lots of issues come up with females out earning men, or the role of a man and their ability to provide, and these dynamics, and how to share money. Do you join your accounts? How much to share? There's all sorts of things that get in the way of that as well, that can disrupt the harmony of a marital or a long-term relationship. So these are very common things that I see in my practice for sure.
So, okay, so there's a lot of common struggles. How does someone move past their money blocks?
It's important to bring awareness to what's happening. That's the absolute most foundational first step, because awareness is the catalyst for change. Once you're aware of what you're doing and how disruptive or limiting this particular pattern, behavioral, or thought process is, then you certainly can muster the willingness to do something about it. And that's where you seek potential professional help, or depending on the extremity of the situation you're dealing with, there could be different ways to go about it. But it's very important that you normalize talking about money, because you said earlier, money is a taboo, and often we struggle in silence. So a lot of the times these things can go undetected, and that's why it potentially perpetuates in our own lives versus us tackling it and overcoming it rather quickly.
So the key is we all have to discuss it, especially if we're in a relationship. So when we come
Uh-huh.
back from this commercial break, I'm going to ask you about money and couples and how they should discuss it and why they should discuss it. Because, as we said, it was taboo, but it shouldn't be anymore. So please don't go away. We'll be right back.